Hey everybody, welcome to the Pulpwood Queen channel. We are so excited tonight. And before we do anything, please just go over to that little bell over there and hit subscribe. And that way you don't miss a minute of our discussions and our videos and anything that's on the Pulpwood Queen channel. And now I'm going to hand it over to Kathy Murphy. Yay!
Hey, y'all. It's Kathy L. Murphy, the biggest Elvis fan ever. If you read my first book, The Pulpwood Queen's Tiara Wearing Book Sharing Guide to Life, I said, I love reading as much as I love Elvis Presley because I grew up on him. My dad had all the records, and I've told quite a few stories about Elvis through the years of taking his record to kindergarten for nap time and having my kindergarten teacher call my mother in for a parent teacher conference because I brought in I Just Want to Be Your Teddy Bear, which to me was a childhood song. And for her, it was subversive. You know how some people always said Elvis was, a little bit on the provocative side, but not me. I love Elvis, but we're here tonight because we're watching the #1 film that has been voted the #1 film of Elvis Presley out of the top 100. King Creole is the film that we were to watch tonight. If you have not seen it, it's on which streaming service? Was it Pluto?
It was Pluto.
We watched it on Pluto. And I'm here tonight with author screenwriter Tracy Carnes, who came over. We decided we'd do this in person during the holiday weekend. So for those of you watching later, Tracy doesn't live here. She lives over in Shreveport, Louisiana, but she
doesn't know it yet, but yeah, my whole car's packed up and I'm just going to move in and stay here.
Well, we go back and forth all the time because we're getting ready to start an international chapter of the Pulpwood Queens and Timber Guys book club in Shreveport that will be meeting at Refine and Design Boutique, downtown Shreveport, Louisiana, right across from
the Robinson Film Center.
The Robinson Film Center, which is probably the best art theater around, other than there's one over in Kilgore. So tonight we're talking about Elvis, and he had quite a cast of characters that were in this. Now, it was based on a book, Tracy.
It was based on a book by Harold Robbins.
Yeah.
And it was, from what I gather, Elvis's favorite film of all the films that he did. And Walter Matthau, he loved Elvis in this. He said he was not a punk at all. He was very elegant, well-spoken, knew his lines, just was a professional on this film, and he had nothing bad to say about him. I don't think anybody ever did have anything bad to say about Elvis.
No, but
well, except the shaking of the hips thing and all that back in the day.
But Walter Matthau plays a bad guy in this film. And so it's hard to believe that he loved Elvis so much, but he did. And he also, the girl that plays this questionable woman of character is portrayed is Carolyn Jones. Carolyn Jones has always been one of my favorite character actresses. She was absolutely stunningly beautiful, and you may remember from the television show
The Munsters. Believe it or not.
Yeah, she played the Mrs. Munster, and she wore that iconic dress that went down and just had that, she could take baby steps in it. And so anyway, Carolyn Jones ended up later on marrying in life one of the sons.
Was she the Munster? Was it the
No, she's at Adams
family.
Adams family.
I said the Munsters. Adams family.
Well, it's easy. They were around the same time.
She
was in the Adams family.
Adams family.
Wednesday's mother. So anyway,
with the iconic dress.
With the iconic dress. But she went on to do many other dramatic roles and character roles, and she was married to one of the sons on My Three Sons. She married Hoss Cartwright.
The Bonanza.
On Bonanza. Oh my gosh, I'm getting totally off.
And she died young. She was only 53 years old when she died.
I said My Three Sons, but there were three sons.
There were three sons
on the Bonanza television show. And just a little tidbit about this, just down the road from where I live here at Holly Lake Ranch, they had a ranch there, and it's now owned by somebody else, but beautiful it's got cascading lakes, man-made lakes that it's lush green, beautiful
Wow.
ranch just over towards New Diana, between here and New Diana. The weirdest things come up when we talk about these films.
I know,
So
right?
we watched this film, and first of all, Tracy and I were just in New Orleans.
And the film looks like where we were in New Orleans.
Exactly, because we were down on
And we
Jackson
locked
Square.
the car doors.
Yes, we did lock the car
We're like,
doors.
this is a little dodgy here.
Yes, we walked all over Jackson Square and ended up dining at Muriel's, which is, oh, nice kitty in the background.
Kitty.
And so it's set down in New Orleans, one of our favorite places. Now, Tracy lives in Shreveport, but there's nothing more fun than going down to Louisiana, and the music and the food. So this is where the film is set. And it's got a lot of other characters. Dolores Hart stars in this film, and you may remember her from the film Where the Boys Are.
Where the Boys Are.
She fell in love with George Hamilton, which was one of the spring break kids. They went down to Fort Lauderdale, and she played in it. And I think
played Merritt.
Pretty much after she played the role of Merritt, she actually decided to become
5 years after King Creole, she became a nun. So in a very small window of her acting, then suddenly she became a nun.
She became a nun and still a nun today.
And still a nun, and she's still alive, born in 1938.
But Vic Moreau was in this. Who else was in this? That was there's a lot of characters that you'll recognize. And the story is about this teenager who, you know, his father has set him pretty high standards for, he wants him to graduate from school and become somebody. So it's very important he graduates from school. And the character of Elvis Presley, he's working so much to keep his family afloat.
But he can't.
He can't. His grades are hard. He works before he goes to school, after he goes to school, and on the weekends. So he ends up going to work at a nightclub.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is he's a waiter and he's bussing tables, and they find out he can sing. And sing he does, and he sings through this whole film, and it's some of the best music ever. So was this film, was there talk about it being Academy Award for?
They thought that he was going to end up with a nomination because of his acting, and he was only 22, 23 years old at the time. And you know, the talk was that, you know, if he had continued on in acting and not acting in these stupid films that Colonel Parker kind of set up for him, but real, honest to goodness films, that he probably would have been an amazing actor.
But, well, I know in The Searchers he did a really good role. But I have to say, growing up on Elvis Presley and I'm dating myself here, but we would go to the drive-ins, and we had the Highway 54 drive-in, and it was always double feature Elvis Presley night, or it might be an Elvis Presley movie along with Beach Blanket Bingo, which was Annette Funicello and Annette, the Disney, the Mickey Mouse Club little girl that grew up and grew out. We would watch those movies, and then also downtown at the Princess Theater, they would play a lot of the Elvis shows. And since my aunt ran the ticket booth at both the drive-in, oh my goodness, here comes the puppy with his toy. At the drive-in, the Princess Theater, and the Highway 54, it's just an animal mirage. We got the cat, we got the dog, we got things happening here. But we loved to go to the drive-in, and it was Elvis Presley night that were my favorite, because I loved Harem Scarum, Blue White, Kissing Cousins. I mean, I know that now that I've grown up, they seem silly, but if it had Elvis singing and dancing, we were out in front of the car, dancing away, me and my sister.
I danced in our living room, like, you know, to our little TV set that we had. They'd show an Elvis movie on TV, and I just would go crazy. My mom would just sit there and watch it. You know, even my dad would, but I would dance around to the music. I loved Elvis. We had Elvis records. And It was, I'm sorry.
The
The
dog.
dog is putting his own little Elvis floor show
It's a,
going on
oh
on
my.
the floor with
Oh
his
my.
toys.
That's a first. Anyway,
Go get the Rakesh pillow.
I'll go good. No, I'm not getting the Rakesh pillow. But anyway, if you ever come this way in Shreveport, Louisiana, there's a place called the Municipal Auditorium.
Yeah.
And it's downtown Shreveport.
Behind the big Methodist church with the big steeple
Tower
at the very end of Texas Street.
This was built during war times,
Yeah.
and it was also has some of the best acoustics of any auditorium I've ever been into. And Elvis got his start there. In fact, they have the very first recording of Elvis at 19 that they play in their gift shop. And
KWKH.
that's right.
The
And
Louisiana
his dressing
Hayride.
room is exactly the same as it was when he was there. I actually had a Pulpwood Queen book club slumber party at the Municipal Auditorium. We set our tents up on the floor of the auditorium. We got to sing and dance on the stage where Elvis performed, where Jerry Lee Lewis played the piano. But it was also known as a place for film stars who got their beginning theater kudos, under their belt before they were discovered. And one of them was Betty Davis. Betty Davis is one of my favorite actresses of all times. And I know Ruthie Landis, who sometimes pops up on these, knows all about it. But it's a wonderful place right there in Shreveport, Louisiana. And I know when Dolly Parton goes through Shreveport, she always stops at the Municipal Auditorium for a visit because she got her start there.
She did.
Hank Williams Jr. There's just so many stars, and they have little vignette rooms where they've created, tributes to these artists. So Elvis is
if you go through Shreveport, take the tour. It's worth it.
It's really great. And the last concert I went there was Harry Connick Jr. They do great.
Oh, they still do concerts there all the time. Lyle Lovett was just there. We didn't get tickets.
We didn't get
to a lot. We had a lot going on.
We had a lot going on. But anyway, get to the Municipal Auditorium. And if you have not been to Graceland, well, I can tell you I'm an aficionado of Graceland. My friend lives just outside of Memphis, my artist friend, and she took me there the first time, and I've been back 5 times. I've taken my youth group. I've taken a spring break trip with my husband's grandmother, all the cousins. We went on an Elvis trip. We stayed at the Heartbreak Hotel. Yep. We swam in the heart-shaped swimming pool. We went on to Tupelo, Mississippi to see his house, which literally you can put one foot in the front door and the other foot almost out the back. It is so tiny,
little.
But if you haven't been to Graceland, I recommend it, and you will see people from all over the world. Since this is the month of his death in August, it's really been busy. And also, if you've noticed on Facebook, I'm able to share all these posts of backstory on Elvis and his history. I think I've read about just every one of his books. Mm-hmm. And you can follow along. I've had Elvis come in a standee form to my International Book Club conventions, and we even did a Viva Las Vegas themed girlfriend weekend in his honor. So,
and we just couple of weeks ago, we went to see an Elvis show.
That's right.
In Gladewater with Jackson Foltine, and he did amazing. He basically came out in the '68 comeback special black leather. It was phenomenal. And if you haven't seen it, I recommend that you watch the Baz Luhrmann Elvis, which right now is streaming on HBO Max. So you can watch it as many times as you want to. And I recommend that you watch it 2 or 3 times because you're going to miss something. Anytime you watch a Baz Luhrmann film, you need to watch it 2 or 3 times because you're going to miss stuff. And that movie is amazing. And he stayed very true to the story.
And Priscilla Presley was very much involved in the story process. And I thought I knew everything about Elvis, but that film is, to me, the definitive film. and the music is, I've got the soundtrack in my car.
Oh, the music is phenomenal. It's different.
It's real different,
but it's still Elvis is in there, and all, it all the way to his death, from being a kid to all the way to his death. So and the guy that plays
oh my
Elvis, his name is
gosh.
Austin Butler,
Oh
and
my
he
gosh.
he put his heart and soul into that film.
What a
And
voice, too.
who knew? Well, a part of it is overdubbed. The older Elvis, once you get past the comeback special, he's pretty much it's everything's dubbed at that point, because he's still, Austin Butler's not, what, 30 years old. He was
They
born in
filmed
91,
this.
so
They filmed this in Australia, and I'm
all of
telling
it,
you,
and it still looks like the Municipal Auditorium in Shreveport.
it
It
does.
really, really does.
I'm expecting big things at the Academy Awards this year for this young man, and for Tom Hanks, who plays Colonel
Tom
Parker.
Hanks, and I even went back and looked at some older interviews of Colonel Tom Parker, just to see. I mean, I already kind of knew what, Colonel Tom Parker, said and looked like and all that, but I just wanted to kind of now have a side by side comparison of it. And he did an amazing job, I think.
Radley sees his face in the door, and he's my
dog.
He's visiting too. So anyway, King Creole.
King Creole.
I'm watching all the Elvis films I can. The only place I've ever been able to find them, though, is usually at Graceland, because you can buy the films.
You can buy the films.
But there are a few that every once in a while get released through Netflix and different.
HBO Max has them because they have a TCM, Turner Classic Movies Hub. So I know that Viva Las Vegas is there, and maybe 2 or 3, but not every Elvis movie. Pluto has a couple of them. You just basically put in a search or go on IMDb, and when you pull up that movie, or the information on that movie, it'll usually tell you what streaming service that movie is available on, or if it's just available for rent, like on Amazon Prime. But usually I can find the movies that I want, on any one streaming platform or another. We have so many to choose from. There's so much content out there that you can still find. So, just do a search and look. But King Creole was on Pluto, and we watched it, and we just been to New Orleans. So it was very refreshing to watch it. He left to he went into the Army back in the day. He was only 23 years old when he went into the Army. And this film, they actually had to give him a 60-day extension before he went into the Army to finish this film. This was the last film that he made before he went into the Army. So it has it has so many different meanings in Elvis's life. I think it is the definitive film as far as his acting ability. This was his favorite film of all of the films that he ever did. This one, Clam Bake, he hated, so we won't do Clam Bake.
Well, Elvis, very interestingly, besides getting a start at the Municipal Auditorium, ran up and down Highway 80, and he performed all over East Texas. In fact, he performed 3 times right here in the nearest town that I am living near, Hawkins, Texas, and Gladewater and Longview. He was up and down. The kids just loved him, and he was a favorite. And the first time he came here, he performed at the high school, and it caused quite a stir amongst the parents. And I think there's an Exxon plant. They had a community building, and the last time he came, he did a gospel Sunday afternoon where all he did was sit at the piano and play gospel tunes with all the kids around him.
He loved gospel.
And everybody loved him. The boys and girls loved him. I've met many people that were there. And in fact, the last person he dated before he went to Germany goes to my church and has a room in her home. I'm not going to give her name away. She has a room in her home dedicated to Elvis and all the things that he gave her. And it's pretty fascinating itself. He left a really big imprint on a lot of people's lives. And in fact, I know that Marshall Chapman told me that the first time she saw Elvis, who Marshall is a Nashville artist from Spartanburg, um, Tennessee, she told me that she knew that's all she ever wanted to do after that was be like Elvis. So he left a mark on a lot of people. The Beatles loved him.
When I lived in Memphis, everybody had an Elvis story. Everybody had an Elvis story. You couldn't go anywhere in Memphis without somebody telling you their Elvis story.
It's the same here too. And we just love him. And I think he's probably one of the most iconic stars in the world because he's about the only one that has a home that you can tour.
Yeah.
And I think that's why his music is going to be everlasting. But for all the young people out there that have never heard Elvis sing, there is no, I get chills. There is no other voice like Elvis. He was one of a kind. And he grew up with, with all the blues sound of all the people in Memphis. And he started Sun Records.
Cobain doesn't have the legacy that Elvis has.
He loved everybody.
He loved everybody. He did his movies. He just had this incredible legacy and this staying power. And he was multi-generational as far as his appeal.
He was really of my parents' generation, but
he was my mother. They were the same age,
right? But I feel like if I could think of one artist, actually it's three that made the biggest impression on me with music as a child was Elvis Presley, Patsy Cline, and Buddy Holly.
Oh, wow.
So
that's a good trio.
I still have all my dad's 45s, and every once in a while I get them out for my kids and we play them. And there's nothing better than hearing the originals on the record player. So you guys go this holiday weekend. It's Labor Day. Watch King Creole or any other Elvis show, and they've got many of them out there and on YouTube. Go to YouTube. You can find interviews.
You can find all kinds of interviews. You can watch the 68 comeback special on YouTube, and that is amazing. I highly, highly recommend you watch that one. It's just it is definitive Elvis.
And those, that's my password. Grab that quick.
Oh,
he's got a piece of paper that's very important. Okay, give me that. So anyway, I was going to say, watch some of the original Elvis before you watch the Elvis show with the young. Oh yeah, he's going to growl.
He's going to growl. He doesn't want to be on TV.
He doesn't like to be held that much. He likes to run around and have trouble. Right?
Yes.
But watch Elvis. It's on HBO, and watch King Creole. And as I say, every time I would take my cardboard standee out of my annual convention, and now Elvis has left the building. So you all have a wonderful Labor Day weekend. Thank you for joining Tracy and I on our many book and film adventures. We've got a lot more coming up.
Absolutely got a lot of fantastic things coming up.
In fact, we're going to be at the Southern Festival for the book. I'm doing a Pulpwood Queen Presents panel. Stay tuned for the authors that are going to be going there with me. Then we're going to Girlfriend Weekend live on Amelia Island. Everybody's coming, you all. All my biggest chapters are coming from all over the country.
Big authors are coming, and maybe even some other special guests that we're talking to.
We're pretty excited, and we're literally driving home, throwing our bags in our home in Shreveport, and hitting the road for Park City, Utah, because we have got an event set during Sundance downtown at Dolly's Bookstore. Tell us who's going to be there.
I am going to be signing my new book, The Darlings of Sunday. I almost said Sunshine. I'm like, why? The Darlings of Sundance. And I'm going to have two guests there. One of them is David Patterson, He had the 2005 movie Love Ludlow, and another friend of mine, he is a two-time Sundance alum, Tim Harms, and we're going to discuss the Sundance experience while we're there, and then I'm going to be signing my book there at Dolly's Books, January 21st between 2 and 4 p.m. And I think that's going to be just a fantastic event. I love that bookstore, and
Many
it's just
more events are
just
going to be
we're,
coming up.
you know what,
So
we're that's not going to be the last adventure that we have. We're starting to get into some.
well, we're not
you know,
quite Thelma and Louise, but
No, we
we
are not going off the
no, we're putting the fun in road tripping
Yeah.
for artists, authors, and books. So
That's right.
join us at www.thepulpwoodqueens.com.
Yes.
And if you have any questions about any of this, message me on the Pulpwood Queen channel, and I'll give you my email address. It's up on our website.
And please subscribe.
Subscribe.
Please subscribe, because that way you don't miss anything. You'll always get a notification of what's coming up. We always have a discussion on Tuesdays. We've got book club Tuesdays at 7 p.m. is book Central is book club, and then we've got the book and film, and then we have the Shower Khan's Friends and Film Club. So please don't you don't want to miss anything. So please subscribe.
That's right. So, as I always say, as I end our show, it's all about the story. So,
Yes.
bye for now.
Bye.
And we will see you next time on the Book and Film Club. We'll see you then. Okay.
All right.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.